Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Crypto Wednesday. It's a special edition of Crypto Wednesday because it's a crazy day. I'm Shelly Palmer here in New York City, just in the shadow of the Empire State Building. It is a magnificent fall day here in New York, and I'm very happy to see all of you. Chat is where it's at. Welcome, YouTube Live. This is where we are exclusively today. So if you're with us on YouTube Live, please tell me who you are, tell me where you are, and tell me a little bit about what you're doing. This is going to be a crazy day. Promise you craziness. Mark Zuckerberg has announced the company is going to be renamed as the Metaverse, but that's not the biggest story of the day. It isn't. The biggest story of the day is actually a supply chain issue that's so just, I don't know. I don't even know what to say about it. Here it is, folks. I went desperately. Wait, there's nothing there. Oh no! I went desperately to look for my Apple polishing cloth. Literally $19. When I went to buy it, it was out of stock. It's out of stock till mid-November. Supply chain death. I am going to be personally forced, to buy a lower quality polishing cloth. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm crestfallen. The supply chain is just hitting everybody really hard. Just really silly. Beyond social media, welcome. We're glad you're here. Everybody just weigh in on chat. We're going to have some good times today. Look, the craziness of Mark Zuckerberg's announcement. I can't decide. And I talked to some people at Facebook who are very, very tight-lipped about this. I cannot decide if this is, prestidigitation. Let me just show you something that you pay no attention to the fact that we're destroying planet Earth and killing people and ruining girls' lives and doing awful stuff. Like, forget all that. Don't worry nothing about that. Just tell you what you guys do. I'm Mark Zuckerberg. I'm living in a misty world. It's going to be awesome. I can't decide if it's that. Actually, I can't decide. I don't know what this is, and no one's talking. Look, Google renamed themselves Alphabet, and I don't think that mattered to anybody. It certainly didn't fool anyone into thinking that Google wasn't, now doing evil, and that there was something about, Alphabet that was amazing. I probably dissuaded, is that the right word, the DOJ and the SEC from going after them to break Google up, because now it's like, well, wait, Google is separate from the Waymo thing, is separate. Maybe we don't have a reason to go in there and beat them up. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. I don't know. Oh my goodness, questions coming in on Twitter. Hey, okay. This is the big question. I guess I can't avoid this question no matter what. I guess we'll go right to this. And this is, what about the ETF? How does Bitcoin fit into the Bitcoin ETF? Larry S. Okay, Larry, don't know where to start. So today, Bitcoin is at, let's take out my handy dandy price tracker here. Oh my. Bitcoin, $66,626. Ethereum's over four grand. It's for $4,094 right now. Wow. Nothing else is moving around that much. Those two, they seem to track each other all the time. Yeah, Polygon's about where it was yesterday. Cardano, which is ADA, is about where it was. Polkadot's, that's up about 10%. Polkadot's up. The others are like within 3-4% of where they were. Chainlink is languishing in the back, but even it's up a little bit. It's up 6-7% from yesterday. But Bitcoin's up 6.8%. Ethereum's up almost 8%. Wow. Okay, yeah, so this ETF, it's kind of a big deal. ProShares Bitcoin ETF, it launched yesterday, I think, actually. It rose nearly 5% almost immediately. Look, this is a way, it's a way for you to speculate on future contracts of Bitcoin pricing. If that's something you're into, then this is the ETF for you. Wow, I don't know what to say about it. If you actually know, the terms contango and backwardation, if you kind of know some ETF-y terms, if you're an ETF person, if you're not financial advice, go for it. I think a lot of the crypto investors that I spoke to yesterday, and I'm not a crypto investor, I'm just someone who's really deeply excited about the space, Paul Tudor Jones, a billionaire, kind of went, yeah, this is amazing. Most of my friends who are crypto people were like, really? Buy and hold. Wall Street doesn't work that way. So the Wall Street crowd is getting into it. I think that's the exciting part. They're paying attention to it. I think what's also super important super important is that this is the beginning of something that we are going to need to talk a lot about, and that is Diem. While Facebook's about to change its name to Metaverse, it's also out there putting out a stable coin. Now, Diem is probably grandchild of Libra, which was Facebook's original attempt at a stablecoin, a cryptocurrency that's pegged to a fiat currency. And this is going to be pegged to the US dollar. Now, Janet Yellen has not weighed in on how the United States is going to deal with stablecoins yet. As you know, there are plenty of stablecoins out there. USDT, USDC, on and on and on. BUSD, which is the Binance version. All kinds of US stablecoins, but none of them are official United States currency stablecoins. They're all done by other people who are saying they've got a certain amount of US dollars backing up the stablecoin. Facebook's Diem will be like that too. And they're going to have a wallet. I think the wallet's going to be called Novi now. N-O-V-I. Yeah, I think it's Novi that they're going to call it. They're going to let this happen? Is any government in the world actually stupid enough to let Facebook have a currency no matter what it's pegged to? Let's think about that for a minute. Hello, Stephen Catolo. Welcome from Toronto, and welcome Alan Mostow, and thank you for inviting me to Metal. I really appreciate it. Metal is a great group. Ken Rakowski, fantastic broadcaster and just a really, really future-thinking guy, and a bunch of his friends get together on Saturdays for the Metal group. Alan Mostow, tell me what Metal stands for. I know it stands for something. It's an acronym for something, but I don't know what it's for. Stephen Sobel, welcome. Scott Moss, welcome. Yeah, I'm glad you are all here. Please, if you're in chat, and I see a lot of you are, we're only on YouTube Live today, so please let's use that chat like it was a good old-fashioned Slack channel. Just ask your questions. It's an Ask Me Anything kind of day. Much to discuss. Hello, Tom Herman from New Canaan. Welcome. Much to discuss today. There is just a lot going on. At Shelly Palmer is my Twitter handle. You can certainly do that. You can send an email. We're monitoring email right now. If you're a little too bashful to ask your question in chat, you're welcome to ask your question via email. If you want to know a little bit more about crypto, we've got at shellypalmer.com/blockchain a fairly significant set of resources there. If you want to code, if you want to buy stuff, you want to get a wallet together, you want to start dabbling in NFTs or go deep into them, you want to learn a little bit about the business, the blockchain resource pages are there for you. There's a pretty sweet database there. Also, we're working hard to keep that database up to date. So if there's stuff you want to add to it or that you think should be added to it, please let us know. We do it in Airtable. It's our own scoring system because we're out scoring different blockchain, DeFi, NFT. If it's happening in that space, we're trying to watch it as hard as we can. If you've been to Decentraland or have a Decentraland account, please weigh in. Let me know what's happening. Tell me what you're doing. You, of course, are welcome to visit shellypalmer.com, which is our main website. It's kind of a fun place to go. My blog is there. There's a free email you can subscribe to if you're so inclined. But it's kind of a fun place to go and hang. And we try to keep everybody as up to date as possible on things that are happening. And of course, whatever blockchain resources become available, we make available for free there. So yeah. Look, welcome, Charlie from Grand Taunton Press, guy from Detroit. Fantastic, glad you're here. So, yeah, this is like one of my favorite news days ever, and I know we normally call this just straight up Crypto Wednesday, but there's way more than just crypto happening. But back to the subject of crypto. So Facebook is going to build a metaverse, and the reason I asked you if you've been to Decentraland is that Decentraland is a crypto-based metaverse game environment, hangout, that it's pretty fun. If you've got a MetaMask, you can go as a guest, but if you have a MetaMask wallet or Wallet Connect, you can get in there and you can use your cryptocurrency to buy stuff. Why you would do that is beyond my understanding right now, because the stuff is so volatile. Yesterday, Bitcoin was $61,000. This morning it's 64. Yesterday, Bitcoin was 3,700. Right now, it's 4,100. Like if you bought something with it yesterday, you'd be sad you didn't hold on to it overnight, because no matter what other payment method you would have used, you'd have been happier, because there's no other payment method you would have used that would have jumped 10% overnight. And it was 3,700 this time yesterday morning, and it's 4,100 now. Why would you have If you spent $10 in ETH yesterday, it would have been $11 today, worth today, $11 today US if you hadn't spent it, which says don't spend it. To anybody with half a brain. Alan Mosto says Metal, Ken Rakowski's group, is media, entertainment, technology, art, and leadership. It's a Saturday group. Alan, you could put in chat how people could learn about it. I don't know where to send people, but I had so much fun talking to this group. On Saturday, I was invited to just do a little 15-minute guest appearance, literally just 15 minutes. I was talking to Ken Rakowski, and there were 250 people there in this Zoom, and it was amazing. I mean, what an amazing group of people, just wonderful group. And I'm going to be doing something with them on Thursday night, talking a little bit about cryptocurrency. Anything new with Web 3.0 is the question we're getting right now. Everything is new with Web 3.0 every single day. We were just talking about Decentraland, and I want to go back to that for a second. So Decentraland, you get in there if you want to be someone who can interact in a financial way. You'll interact with MetaMask or Wallet Connect, connect your digital wallet, those that are Wallet Connect compatible. When you're in there, you can attend things like you could, let's say, go to a concert in Fortnite or whatever. I'm going to assume that whatever Facebook's metaverse feels like, which might look like Horizon, that conference room app they were putting together a few months ago. No one's talking. We're going to know soon enough. They'll announce it. Apparently they hired 10,000 people in Europe to start building the metaverse. But Diem, their currency, I'm going to make the bold assumption, is going to be the backbone of commerce inside of the Facebook metaverse, which will be called something else. A virtual environment with its own currency, where you basically have 3 billion out of the 4 billion people online automatically registered to be there. Let me think. What's the chance that the wallet's going to be like an extension of Facebook? Let me think. I mean, wow. Now, in practice, they have to change the name of the company just to make people forget the word Facebook and how much they hate Facebook, because they're just too much of the gun sites. And I think that must be what the conclusion they came to. But on the other side of that, what? It's got to be one of the most valuable, no matter how tainted they think it is, it's got to be one of the most valuable brand names on the planet. It has to be. It's one of the highest market cap companies in the world, and it certainly is. Depending on who you ask and what stats you believe, it's between 60 and 70% of everybody who's ever been online or is online is a registered Facebook user. So what? I don't get it. I don't. But I do, but I don't. Adam Gordon, welcome. I have an alpha of IPFS blockchain search engine if anyone's interested in that. Everyone's going to be interested in that, Adam. Everybody. IPFS, for those of you who don't know, is the Interplanetary File System. It is a distributed database. So it's a peer-to-peer distributed database. And if you are doing a decentralized application, Web 3.0, then theoretically you don't have URLs, you have content IDs, because a URL is an address at a specific location, and something that's on a peer-to-peer network has an ID and lives in little pieces all across the peer-to-peer network. So IPFS is a faithful representation of a decentralized database. It's far and away the most popular right this moment. And yeah, if you have a way to do a really cool search engine that's Web 3-ish. I mean, what did Google do? They copied the entire internet. They have a copy of the internet, and they index it using the most sophisticated search tools, or the most sophisticated everything. I mean, Google's got their own everything. They've got their own processors, their own glass, their own switches, their own. I mean, they literally copied the internet and then they just index it and make it searchable. And their job is to not be a search engine at all. Their job is to just be a good enough search engine so you constantly go there. Their job is to get you to click on ads. They are a highly, highly optimized advertising engine. That's what Google is, and probably the best ever created. So Adam Gordon, if you're going to create a blockchain-based search engine that's doing a sort of an IPFS search. Awesome. It won't be hard for you to be a better search engine than Google. I wish you the best at being a better advertising engine than Google. If Google was a better search engine, they wouldn't make any money. It would have to be free. Like if Google was the best search engine in the whole world, like beyond anything, if it was the greatest search engine mankind could create, then your first organic result would be what you intended to go to, and you'd never click on an ad. That's clearly not what Google is. Google's set up to give you a little bit of organic stuff, throw a bunch of things on that you might click on, and the things you click on, they get paid for. They make money when you click on stuff. They don't make any money when they send you to the right place, in case you hadn't noticed. So they're not optimized to send you to the right place. Now, you could build something optimized to send you to the right place. It'd have to be subscription service. It couldn't be ad supported. Like display ads wouldn't cover it. There'd be no way to ad support it. You'd have to charge a subscription for it. But that search engine could actually send you to the right place, which, Google is not optimized to do. So there's that. David Hool, Facebook to Metaverse. Oh, really? Yeah. Admission of a major brand problem. You betcha. Yes, there's no other way to describe it. There's just no other way to describe it. It's a major brand issue. What does this say? This says, I have to look really close here. How are people taking payment at Mint for NFTs on Polygon requiring NFTs? Oh, okay. I get it. So here's the thing. A lot of NFTs are using Polygon network. And the reason they're using Polygon is that it is a substitute for layer 2 substitute for Ethereum. Now, it uses a different way to to validate writing to the blockchain. So it's called proof of stake. You can read about proof of work versus proof of stake. In New York State, just yesterday, I was infuriated to see a group of business people get together and petition New York State, specifically petition the governor, to block Bitcoin mining in upstate New York, where they were going to use hydroelectric power and some old fossil fuel plants combined. And they were citing environmental reasons why, Bitcoin mining just uses too much electricity, and we need this electricity for businesses in New York State, not for Bitcoin mining. Proof of work does use, especially Bitcoin, does use a bunch of electricity. Not as much as video games, not as much as computers, not as much as a bunch of stuff. You can go, if you want to go read about electricity usage in the universe or in the United States, you should go do that. I've written a lot about it. You can find some articles at shellypalmer.com about it. I won't hawk them here, but I've written a lot about this. This is a urban myth. It just is. Bitcoin mining is profitable when the cost per kilowatt hour is as low as humanly possible. The lower the cost per kilowatt hour, the better off the profit is for the miner, and miners are about profit. Commercial mining is about making a profit. They have no interest in hurting the environment. It doesn't help them. And if it's too expensive, it's too expensive. And a lot of fossil fuels are expensive to run. So, get your knowledge base together, personal knowledge base together on the true environmental impact of all Bitcoin mining. Now, Polygon is proof of stake. Uses a fraction of the electricity, uses a fraction of the computational power, uses a fraction of the everything. It's a different way to do it. But in order to buy something, you need a bridge, a Polygon bridge to the Ethereum blockchain. If you want to get your money, you can wrap your ETH to get it onto Matic. You need a way to translate this. You can go, of course, do it at an exchange. I think I showed everybody before the pain points, so I won't do it again this week. I'm mining some Ethereum here on a couple different computers, some ETH. And I do it for proof of just for days like this. You can either get paid off the mainnet, Ethereum mainnet, or you can take your payment in Matic or wrapped ETH, and then you have to bridge it over. The chance to make a mistake and have your cryptocurrency vaporize is pretty significant. Every single I has to be dotted, every single T has to be crossed, and it is technologically difficult. Is it impossible? No. Do you need to pay super close attention in class to get it done? You really, really do. That's all got to get fixed. Stablecoins and exchanges that are fully regulated are going to fix that, but they're no different than going to the bank. Let's talk about this for a second. The goal of Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever that person may be, was to create a currency in Bitcoin that the man wasn't involved in. And the man, by definition, is anybody you want the man to be. Centralized authority. The government of the United States. The biggest man of the men. When you talk about the man, you're talking about the government of the United States. Full faith and credit to the government of the United States. That's the United States military. That's the United States financial system. That's the rule of law in the United States. That's our GDP. You put it all together and you get the US of A. And it is formidable. It by far the number one economy. And look, with all of our insanity going on here and all the things that are terrible that we could start complaining about right now, and there's plenty to complain about. And even as divided as we are today as a nation with red and blue, if you've got a decent idea, and you've got two hands and a brain, no one is standing in your way. Things may stand in your way, and people can yell at me about, white privilege or racism or economic segregation or the digital divide. Yeah. I get it. All those things are real. They are real. I promise you they're real, and I'm not minimizing them in any way. But it's not like there's a government sitting in front of you saying, you can't do this. You can't get a business license. You can't go into business. If you are in business, we're going to restrict your ability to grow. Sure, when you get to Mark Zuckerberg's size, DOJ and SEC kind of look at you funny. When you get to Jeff Bezos' size, yeah. But no one from the government has ever come to my office and said, I'm sorry, Shelly, we don't like the fact that you have a growing business and you're employing people and you're feeding your family and helping your community. And no, you can't be in business. I mean, if I want to work harder, I'll make more money. If I want to work less hard, I'm going to make less money. That's here. Except it isn't really true, because the taxation in New York City, the taxation in New York State, the permitting, the business rules, the regulations that have been piled on in just the last 20 years. When I got to New York City to start my business, when I was in 1979, 80, there were rules and regs, and there were some restrictions, and there was sales tax and all this other stuff, and the fire guy came by, the fire department, you had to have a licensed, approved fire extinguisher, and you had to buy a permit for it, and you had to pay the fire. Like, that was all true back then. It's 1,000 times worse now. You got to carry every kind of insurance. It's really hard. And Satoshi Nakamoto, God bless him, or her, or it, or the group, said Bitcoin's going to solve for this. We're going to take the man out of the finance business, and we're going to put finance in the hands of the people the way computers put information in the hands of the people. You may like that idea, you may hate that idea, but decentralized finance is, at its heart, decentralized. You don't have to go see JP Morgan Chase as the fractional lender who gets told by the Fed how much of your money they can lend you back. You meaning all the depositors, they can lend you back what that ratio needs to be, and therefore they can create cash in the economy, more wealth in the economy than there actually is. They can lend money, they can create a credit environment that allows us to grow. Learn the finance business at its core. Go to finance class, read one finance book, and you'll understand what the job of the Federal Reserve is compared to the fractional lenders, JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, whoever, name your bank, what they're allowed to lend, and how the availability of credit in an industry frees up capital for capitalists to invest and grow their businesses with. It is a phenomenally good system if you understand it and you're in it. And people do, and people are. You want to see how it doesn't work, where things get weird and wacky, even in the United States, even today? Go look at the history of the cannabis industry. Because it's illegal federally, the banking system, without going through all kinds of gyrations and hoops, cannot offer credit to the cannabis industry. Hard to take a credit card. They worked around it with gift cards and all kinds of other stuff, but they can't take, they may be able to now, but for the longest time, they couldn't take a straight up Visa or MasterCard and get a bank account with it. And they couldn't borrow money. And while those restrictions were in place, look at how limited the growth of that industry was. And you can see wherever capital is freed up, wherever credit's freed up, wherever restrictions are relaxed and capitalism is allowed to do its thing, you can build a business. You may hate that, you may like it, but you can build a business. And so the goal here with decentralized finance was to democratize finance the way information's been democratized. What we're doing today here on YouTube Live is only possible because of your personal computer in 1980 and its evolution. Prior to that, you had to go book time at a university or if you're at a corporation, you had to go tell the IT department why you needed to run a program, and you'd go in and run your program at a scheduled time, and you'd have to really understand the output you were looking for because otherwise you wouldn't get granted the time. What? No one can even relate to that. That doesn't even exist. I mean, the concept is out of our worldview today. What if there was no one to go see about a bank loan? What if tomorrow you wanted to open up your bank? So what do? I print up Shelly coin and I say, anybody want Shelly coin? You can have it. I'll lend you all the Shelly coin you want. 3% interest, no percent interest. Now, other people won't take Shelly coin. Definitely not, because you'd be out of your mind. But it's assuming that there's nothing standing in my way. So the only difference between Diem and Shelly coin is the full faith and credit of Facebook, or whatever they're going to call it. And the fact that there'll be US dollars behind it, so they say. Will you have the capacity to go and investigate that there is a US dollar for every Diem? Will you actually know how to do that? No, you will rely on the wait for it, SEC or DOJ or some other government organization to do that. Okay, that's not cryptocurrency, folks. That ain't even close to cryptocurrency. It's digital cash, but it's not cryptocurrency. It may use cryptography. It's not cryptocurrency, not in the spirit. It's not Web3, not in the spirit. The spirit of Web3 is I throw something up online and no one has anything to say about it. And in fact, so much so that I can't even take it offline if it's Web3, because it'll just be there forever once it starts to propagate. Now, it may ultimately be taken out with the trash once people stop using it. It can die. But if something is popular, it's going to stay popular forever. Until they forget it. No one ever dies until they're forgotten, and nothing on Web3 ever goes away until it is no longer valuable. As long as it has value to someone, it will be on somebody's computer somewhere. And if they're on a peer-to-peer network that's Web3 attached, that's what's going to happen. It's just going to be there forever. So Thomas Herman asks, what's going to happen when the token pricing tether bubble bursts? I don't understand the question, actually, because the tether, like anything that's pegged to a US dollar, if it's truly pegged, will theoretically have $1 of cash and or an asset that would be liquid enough to trade in a way that they could, if everybody asked for if Diem is truly pegged and everybody asks for $1 of Diem at the same time, theoretically, you should be able to get it. Theoretically. Whereas if everybody wanted to cash in their Bitcoins, I don't think there's enough cash lying around right now for that to happen. Like currencies are belief systems. I mean, you don't actually have a physical green dollar for most of the stuff you pay with dollars for. That's already digital cash. It's already living as ones and zeros in some computer system somewhere. And it's really sophisticated, by the way. Like for all the DeFi work everybody's doing, the United States banking system and the world banking system is completely digital, completely cryptographically hashed up, completely secure. At least they're not going to tell us any different. There's probably ways for modern hackers to get in there and create a lot of cash for themselves, but you're never going to learn about it. You think you're ever going to hear in a day, JP Morgan Chase was hacked and $10 billion was... If it happens, you're never going to hear about it. The digital cash that moves around the world, which is most of the cash that anyone listening to this is involved with, wow, it's really, really, really sophisticated compared to what's going on in DeFi. You probably can't get to FTX, the actual FTX, not FTX US. You probably can't get to it unless you tunnel in using a VPN. I'm not suggesting you do that. And of course, nothing in this show is financial advice. This is for your entertainment and amusement. And it's just my opinion. But if you were for some reason or somehow or some way, pardon me, to get a virtual private network tool that allowed you to trick FTX in the Bahamas into believing you were, let's say, ex-US, and you went and looked at the offerings there, what you could trade from trading pairs. First of all, pretty much every currency you've ever heard of any value is there. But there are so many financial instruments and ways that you can buy long and short, and there are all kinds of derivatives, financial derivative tools, and derivative products there, rather. It's amazing. It's not regulated here and therefore not available here. FTX US isn't even available in all 50 states. But the actual FTX is an amazing place. Amazing place. There are decentralized exchanges, fully decentralized, meaning no one to see, no one to talk to, no know your customer, no nothing out there. And I won't talk about what they are, but it won't take you long to find them. And yes, they're on our resource pages, but I don't really want to hawk any of that or even pretend to tell you that I'm suggesting you go there, because unless you are a personally sophisticated crypto trader, you would have lost your mind to go to a decentralized exchange to trade something that you think is a get-rich-quick scheme. You will get what you deserve. So I'm telling you now, common sense. You are warned. Don't. But there are places that are. The Wild West doesn't do it justice. Doesn't do it justice. They're out there. That's, I think, the spirit. Now, somewhere in between those two places, between anything goes, no matter what, and not only caveat emptor, but bring an army. Somewhere between that and what's going to happen now as the government tries to regulate absolutely everything. Somewhere in there, we're going to see, water seeking its level. Oh, wow. Okay. More questions. Right. Thoughts on oracles. How do they relate to DeFi and NFTs? Henry, that's a really great question. So if you want to learn about oracles, because in the next 15 minutes, I cannot teach the entire Oracle story. You can have an API if you have a web address. So if there's a URL and you actually have servers and databases that are located in physical locations that can be found by going to an index and finding them, then the API structure works great. You can talk about the shape of the data that the API offers up. You get permission to use the API, and the API gives you access to data at a remote location, maybe in a source of data that you don't own, but you have access to. We do this every day. I have a little pricing tool that I use in my spreadsheet, my own Excel spreadsheet, where I do my crypto analysis of just the industry any given day. And what I do is off of Coinbase's API, I just pull in the prices, because it's Coinbase and it's got an API. I just pull it in. I don't need an Oracle for that. It's literally at an address, Coinbase.com, and there's an actual address, and you just pull it in, and it's open, completely open. You don't need a key. You don't need a permission. It's just they put their prices out every day. So rather than scrape their website, I grab it off their API. But if it was Web 3.0 and it was a pure DeFi environment and there was no physical address of the database and I wanted to gather information, then rather than go to an API, I would use an Oracle. So the Oracle that I use the most, it's not the best or the worst, but the one I use the most is Chainlink. And their utility currency is called Link. Chainlink is there's so much wonderful general information about what oracles are, how to use them. They have a DevRel guy named Jason who does about 1 billion YouTube videos. And they have a couple of Git repos where you can go to GitHub and you can just follow along. They have them in Python. They have them in C++. They've got them in React. They got them in JavaScript. Pretty much any language you can write, if you can code at all. And even if you can't code, you can sort of just follow along on these videos and you will learn not only what an oracle is, but how it's used and where it sits in the ecosystem. They do really great tutorials on YouTube. Their site is very good. They've got I send people there all the time. There are many other oracles. There are many other ways to approach this. But if you are really interested in understanding what a Web3 or what a decentralized finance data exchange would look like, that was purely all Web3. Because if it's hybrid, if there's a centralized portion, it'll have an API. You can grab the stuff off the API. Just throw it into your app or your DApp, right? There's no reason to keep everything purely decentralized. And I would argue there may never be a reason. Like, again, I went on this crazy, diatribe. I was preaching the religion of DeFi as I guess the Satoshi Nakamoto persona would have conceived it based on the white paper, which you ought to read, by the way. But does anyone really care about decentralization? And by the way, is the security of the Security and Exchange Commission or the Department of Justice of the United States or the regulatory body or the IRS, that comfort may actually help. So regulating may not be a bad idea, and working with a centralized exchange may not be a bad idea, and KYC might give you the rule of law to fix something you break. You send crypto right now to someone who doesn't know you by accident, you're never going to see it again. You write a check to somebody that, and it's fraudulently cashed, you're insured up to $100,000. There's all kinds of protections in the bank. If the bank moves your money by accident, you wake up one morning and you find $5,000 missing and you call your bank, they're going to put it back. No matter how it went away. If you didn't send it away, if you didn't do it, if they did it, if they allowed it to happen and it wasn't you, you're good. Crypto, your wallet's missing $5,000. I don't care where you are. If you're DeFi, that $5,000's gone forever, not coming back. So there's a reason for centralization, and there's probably good arguments for it. And the hybrid. Now, the big question is, will consumers care? Will a consumer actually care? My app is fully decentralized, says the app person. What does that mean to me? Is it faster? No. Is it more secure? Definitely not. Is it as secure? Maybe. My hybrid app has a little bit of centralization. We can scale bigger than any of our fully decentralized friends, and we're more secure. What do you mean you're more secure? You're centralized. Well, we have, the kind of securities the bank has. Well, banks can be robbed. Okay. So now we're going to have an academic hypothetical discussion about what's more secure, a gigantically decentralized group of validator nodes and miners, or some central authority. Atori asks, what are the implications of Bitcoin ETF futures? I think this is a way for people who understand what an ETF is, who are Wall Street trained, to play in Bitcoin land. Again, I said earlier in the stream, if you're really a crypto believer, you hodl your crypto. HODL as opposed to LD. And for those of you, it's not an affectation. I think it was probably a misspelling of hold, HOLD, HODL. It's hodl. It's vernacular or slang. It's used by everybody who is a crypto person. I don't know. It won't last forever. Some people think it's an initialism for hold on for dear life. I don't think it is. But I like that as a mnemonic. It's a nice mnemonic device. But to hodl your crypto. I don't know anybody who's a real crypto believer who isn't long on crypto. Again, not financial advice. But it's volatile enough where people trade. You want to understand robotic trading and robo trading and front running and all that stuff. There's a site. I'm not recommending that you spend any money here or do anything there other than get an education. There's a site called 3 Commas. The number 3 and the word commas, 3commas.com. What I did there 6-7 months ago is I put up a bunch of robo trading algorithms. It's done nice. It's done actually pretty well. I used some trading techniques that we had done for media trading, media buying, media efficiencies years ago, ways to optimize media purchases. Dollar cost average, long, regress to the mean bots. I have several regress to the mean algorithms that I used when I was doing very active analysis of media optimization, trying to figure out how to train various programmatic tools. This goes back a decade, maybe, and the math isn't new in any way. But if you have that math, or if you don't, they have some stuff from pull down lists, and you can. There's a whole community of people who all think they know how to get rich quick with bots, and so they all talk about it. I think they're all smoking something, actually. But you put up a couple bots there, you start to get to understand the robo trading part of this. And there are people making a lot of money. You have to risk a lot. Is it a casino? probably is. Again, absolutely not financial advice, but it's probably more like a casino than it is like anything else. So, but if you really want to understand that, go to 3 commas. It's as good a place as any. Their YouTube videos are in Russian, which should scare you by itself. Scared me. They have some subtitles, but the documentation at 3 commas is good. The community, there's a Discord channel and an intercom channel, a couple intercom channels and a Discord channel. They're really nice, the people there, and I learned a lot. And there's a lot of people that are very full of themselves, talking about how they've made millions of dollars risking only pennies. And it's like, go there at your own risk. But do understand that you do robo trade this stuff. So if you're not going long on your crypto, then there's active trading on every exchange across the crypto universe. What's the ETF going to do? Wall Street eyes it. Now you're retired. Now your financial analyst from your retirement fund, can put you into a Bitcoin ETF, and you could say you're in crypto. Does that mean anything? I don't know. Again, not a financial advisor. May they go in good health, and God bless. I don't know. If you're into crypto, it's not the crypto we care about right now. It's the new world of decentralized finance and what that means, and finding the balance between centralized and decentralized. How are we going to use it for advertising? How are we going to use it for media distribution? How are we going to use it for audience development? How are we going to use it for fan development? How are we going to use it for customer service? How are we going to use it for authentication of things like diplomas and deeds to our houses? What's it going to do to an industry? What is an NFT going to do in an industry like title insurance? What is the blockchain going to do to that industry? How could we help the container problem that we have right now with inventory movement? How could we help with authentication and to minimize fraud and counterfeiting in merchandise? How can I use it for ticketing? How can I use it for events? How can I use it to gather data? How can I use it for self-sovereign identity, where I control more of my data? I'm in Decentraland. I'm in Facebook's new metaverse. Who's entering? What do I tell Mark Zuckerberg about me? Well, in his world, he'll know more about me than I want him to, but in another metaverse, I might be able to go in there with my self-sovereign identity and not have to tell them anything more than I can guarantee you I'm old enough to be here, and I do not choose to tell you my gender or my age. Just that I'm old enough to be here, and you can verify that, but only that, based on the self-sovereign identity token that I'm making available to you, which you can authenticate and is real, but you get no other data. Wow. That's cool. So there's like a world of stuff you get to do with this that has nothing to do with Bitcoin ETFs or the price of Bitcoin, and never will. Never will. We're going to have to go through all of this. Crypto Wednesday is going to be Crypto Wednesday for quite some time, because crypto isn't going away. I have people telling me, Shelly, Bitcoin's going to be $100,000. And I was, okay, great. That doesn't change anything. It'd be great for people who literally invest in crypto. Okay, that's good. If that's you're a crypto speculator, go in good health, man. You're good. But if you're thinking about this, the way I'm thinking about this is just how many industries are going to be disrupted, and where is the balance between central and decentral tools, and which industries will be disrupted first, and how disrupted will they be? My college diploma, my birth certificate, like, when does that become an NFT that is on a blockchain that is absolutely public and absolutely private at the same time? And maybe the government does issue that blockchain. Maybe that's a U.S. government blockchain. Maybe it is. Maybe the city of New York blockchain with birth certificates is cool. I'm into that. I'm all over that. Public records, they're public for a reason. They're already public records. Great. Let's make sure they're honest. I don't want someone on their resume saying they went to Harvard, and I check, and there's no, on the Harvard blockchain, there's no diploma to this person. Okay, why not? You said you went to Harvard. How is it possible you don't have a diploma from Harvard on their blockchain? There's good and bad. It really is. Super easy to find me or find us. I would just want to throw a quick text stream. Drops every Tuesday. Me and Seth Everett. We have so much fun doing this. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google Play, wherever all that cool stuff is found, you can absolutely find us there. And I hope you will go and download TechStream, and please also come to PGX, our private social network. It's in the description, pgx.tech. We talk about this stuff every day there. It's a private social network, but you are totally invited to be there, and I hope you will come and join us and do all that stuff. There's not there's not a lot more I want to talk about today, and we're coming to the witching hour, but I would ask you to please send me an email if you've got a blockchain project, a DeFi project, an NFT project, anything you're doing that's cool. You want to talk about anything, shoot me an email. This is something I'm really deeply into. I'm very excited about. And, I will do my best to answer your questions. And again, of course, come up to shellypalmer.com/blockchain. We got everything you need there, everything that you'd possibly want. And if you have something to contribute there, please, we're always open to suggestions and always looking for help when it comes to learning more. It seems like every day there's a whole new world that we need to learn about. Do me a favor, one quick tweet, and if you happen to like today and you're on YouTube, wouldn't mind if you subscribe to the channel. That always makes YouTube think we're smarter than we are and better than we are. I want to thank you very, very much for being here today. It's my favorite time of the week, every week, spending it with you. Thanks for all the great questions and hanging out with me today, and I will see you guys next time.